Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for attending today. Today we're going to talk about managing difficult situations, and when we talk about that, we're talking about conflict management. Not so much conflict resolution, conflict management, because conflict is inevitable. It's going to happen in every workplace, every environment, everywhere you go in your career. So we're going to talk about how to manage those conflicts. Different styles, different strategies for different people, different temperaments. So a lot of this is very strategic. Keep that in mind. It's one of those old adages where we all kind of know what we got to do. It's all about doing what you got to do. I think everybody knows a lot of these cliches that we're going to be discussing today, but now we're going to put it into a perspective, into an actual strategy to employ for these situations. All right, so diving right in. Some of the outcomes in this program. Now, again, it's a 4-hour program. Today we're going to be doing it very quickly, expedited in about 15 minutes, so I'm going to be talking very quickly. At the end, you'll be able to describe components of conflict, identify your conflict management style. This is probably the most valuable piece of information you'll get out of this class, is identifying the conflict management style. There's 5 styles. Everybody know that there's 5 styles of conflict management? Now, you all possess each style. It's just that you use one more than you tend to use the other. And we're going to go through that in a little bit, and we'll give you a quiz. So, of course, you know, what is conflict? It's a struggle. It's a part of life. It's something opposing between two people, ideas, values, and beliefs. Some quotes, because I love quotes. Quotes are very impactful. All right, so the first one, don't be afraid of opposition. Remember, a kite rises against, not with the wind. That's because sometimes you need conflict in order for something to work. So think it visually about a kite needing the conflict in order to work. So think about that. This is where you need to have conflict for opportunity. All right, another one, you can't shake hands with a clenched fist. So even during conflict in our conflict environment, you cannot shake hands with a clenched fist. That's not holding grudges. Excuse me. So, and then the next one, which is my favorite quote, and I talk a lot about this type of person. All right, I argue very well. Ask any of my remaining friends. I can win an argument on any topic against any opponent. People know this and steer clear of me at my parties, often as a sign of great respect. They don't even invite me. How many people know those kind of folks that you have in your life, right? Absolutely. These are the ones that give you the hardest time, but there's strategies that you can employ for that. Not much time for the video, so what we're going to do, the video before kind of talks about more conflict. Do a lot of video-based learning. You retain video-based content 60,000 times faster than you do when you read, so I love video-based content in the interest of time. But for today, we're going to do a quiz, and you're all going to figure out what your conflict management style is. All right? Now, like I said, not one is better than the other. You possess all 5, but it's one that you tend to use more. There you are. Anybody surprised by their scores? All right, so let's go through them as you guys finish up in the interest of time. 5 styles, here they are. Competing, enforcing. This is the win-lose type style. This is when someone overpowers or outsmarts to get what he or she wants. The smoothing and accommodating is when one person lets the other have his or her way out of kindness, fear, or just not caring that much. Accommodating is one of the most common ones. Ignoring and avoiding, both sides avoid addressing the issue and neither person gets anything. Compromising, all give and get something. Each person gives up something to get something. Kind of like a fair, but you have to lose in order to gain. All right? Problem solving, collaborating, this is the win-win, which everyone wants to get to. The parties work together to find a solution that meets both their needs. This usually requires creative solutions. So as we dive right in, when is it appropriate and inappropriate to use each style of management? First one, competing and forcing. When is this appropriate to be the win-lose type person, the one that my way or the highway? All right, so for example, an emergency. Quick decision. The building is on fire. Get out is an example of one of those competing, forcing where it's very appropriate to do that. But inappropriate when collaboration has not yet been attempted. Cooperation from others is important. Used routinely for most issues. Self-respect of others is diminished. Right? So this is where it's a style that causes a lot of problems in the workplace, like the quote that I mentioned. The win-lose, everyone has these folks either in their workplace or in your home life. But it is appropriate in certain circumstances. Now, accommodating, the lose-win, the most common one, is result isn't important to you, but it is to the other person. Satisfying the other person is priority. You realize you are wrong, or you just don't actually care that much about the issue. You care more about the relationship. So it's like, you know what, we'll agree to disagree. You're right. 2 + 2 is 5. Fine. I just want to have a relationship with you. But the problem with accommodating, which is very dangerous, is that it's inappropriate because you're likely to harbor resentment for accommodating that person too much, which is exactly why these 5 styles have to be balanced. You can't just use one. If you over-accommodate continuously for prolonged periods of time, you are likely to harbor resentment for that person because you're over-accommodating. That's something we have to be very careful about. It's always good to draw a line in the sand at some point. It's okay to do that. That's why, because if you harbor resentment and that festers, not only does that affect you, it's also unfair to the other person. Whether that person is being mean or not, you're doing it to yourself rather than them doing it to you. All right, next one, avoiding lose-lose. When is this appropriate, right? This is one that results are not important, stakes aren't high, pick your battles, relationships insignificant. For example, we're all from Jersey, someone cuts you off, or from Philly. I'm just gonna let that one go. I'm not gonna follow the guy to his house, not this time. I gotta get to work. So you care about the relationship and the issue, used habitually for most issues, but as you all know, common sense will tell you that in management and anything you do in your organization, if you ignore, things will fester. It's a ticking time bomb. You have to kind of address it. The funny thing about ignoring is most folks, if when you do address something you feel could be an issue down the line, they'll say something like, oh, you didn't need to tell me that, you're fine, it's okay, but really, you should have told them that, and it's a good thing you did. But not many people are going to confirm, like, yeah, I was waiting for you to come to me. Not many people actually do that. So keep that in mind as well. Now, compromising, fair. Appropriate when it's easy for everyone to see what they want to give up, make it work. Team process isn't as important. Inappropriate when finding the most creative solution is important. You can't live with the consequences. So fair. An example of this type of conflict management style is 2 employees want off for holidays, Christmas and Thanksgiving, right? That was always a big one every year. It's like, oh, you had it off last year, I want it this year. So the compromising technique is good that you might lose Thanksgiving, but you'll get Christmas. That is a perfect example of a compromising, fair type of conflict management style, that you give up something in order to get something, a lose in order to win. Then, of course, your collaboration, win-win. This is the hardest thing to achieve because it takes creative solutions by both sides. It takes a lot of effort and creativity, like I said. And usually it's not just one meeting, it's just several meetings, it's ongoing until you can actually get to where both sides win. So anybody have any stories of when they've executed some of these styles, like a lose-win or a win-win? Anybody have any stories they want to share? All right, usually it's blank stare, so I'll tell my story of a win-win with my dog, my boxer and hound dog. If I can win with an animal, I'm sure you all can win with your coworkers, supervisors, kids, my kids, spouse. I can do marital counseling with the conflict management. Off that side, I'll give you my card. No, I'm kidding. So with win-win with my dog, this is the thing about this, and I realized the other day. My dog has an addiction to crayons. Loves crayons. My daughter is 5 years old, loves glittery crayons. He eats them by the bulk. And I can't stop him because he's a crazy boxer and hound mix. He's a working dog. So after a while, I'm watching Cesar Millan, Dog Whisperer, Positive Reinforcement, nothing's working. This is a lose for me. The dog is executing a win-lose management style, and I am on the losing end of this conflict management. So fast forward, maybe about a month later, can't hide the crayons. He always gets to it because anybody knows kids, they're always going to pull them out of the cabinet no matter how hard you try. So I'm in my backyard, and I'm about to cut the lawn. And every time, everybody knows when you're about to cut the lawn, you got to clean the yard if you have a dog, right? I always miss 1 or 2. And I always run the lawnmower right through it, and it drives me crazy, right? So there I am back there one day, and I'm looking at my yard, and I could see the glittery, sparkling lime crayons all throughout the backyard. And I'm like, unbelievable, this dog. And it's almost like he's winning even in the backyard, reminding me just how much he wins. But then it's the way I looked at it, and I said, but now that I can see it, I can clean it all up without actually rolling my lawnmower through it. Now I feel like I've kind of have a win-win here, don't I? I'll let you win with the crayons because I get the win because I don't get to step in it in the backyard when I cut the lawn. So that's just because it's the way I looked at it. Now, most people look at that situation as the dog is winning and he's just reminding you by you seeing it in the backyard. But I took a step back from the big picture, tried to find the silver lining, which was a win for me. Now, of course, you don't let the dog eat bulk crayons. You can't give him a cup and a half a day. You don't want to do that, right? So it's something that if it does happen, I'm okay with it because I found a way where it works for me as well. So sometimes it's not just what's at face value. It's how you really perceive and look at these things. That's what makes a difference. Also, avoidance, if going back to that real quick, a good time to execute this style if you're getting fired. Just keep your mouth shut. Maybe they'll not fire you and they'll just keep you back on. So a lot of times people execute an avoiding style. Let me not say anything during this room and hopefully I'll keep my job. So that's one you want to use too, so avoiding. Now, as I go on about conflict management, it's not your IQ, it's your EQ. Everyone knows what EQ is, emotional quotient, emotional intelligence, right? When you're looking at conflict, you can't look at it from an intellectual, more so what's inside of us, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Everybody knows what this is, seen this in school at one point. So I talk a lot about the emotional side. Let's look at that. Physiological, which is your overall food, water, my survival, physiological. Right above that is safety, my shelter. So food, water, shelter. And right after that, love, belonging, a sense of belonging, and esteem. Esteem is right after that. And at the top, self-actualization is if your dreams have been realized. Have you fulfilled the purpose you have on this earth? So let's go into esteem. Esteem. All humans have a need to feel respected. This includes the need to have self-esteem and self-respect. Esteem presents the typical human desire to be accepted and valued by others. People often engage in a profession or hobby to gain recognition other than just salary. These activities give the person a sense of contribution or value. So when you talk about conflict management and esteem and self-respect, you're hitting on something that is innate, that is hardwired in our DNA. It's in our hierarchy of needs. We need that. Now, salary is the number one thing people always look at, what they require as far as their happiness, but really everyone knows that it's very temporary. Someone gets a raise, 6 months down the line, they're right back to square one. The more money you make, the more you spend, right? So really it's the esteem, the belonging, the contribution. Is that part of it, if it's not addressed, leads to a lot of conflict. Leads to a lot of conflict because the person feels like they're not being heard. They're not part of the team. They're not contributing, or their ideas are not valued. And sometimes, that happens where folks have ideas that might not be the greatest, but it's to address that esteem and that love and belonging, their hierarchy of need is incredibly important to maintaining the right culture and the right environment for your people. Very important. Right? And in addition to that, you also talk about generational differences, right? When it comes to how to manage conflict in the workplace. Everyone has a different style, especially generationally. So you have your baby boomers and Gen Xers and millennials. You also have your perennials. You know what those are? Perennials. Anybody know about the perennial generation? Perennials are the people that you think are dead, but they keep coming back every year. Because they've been there for so long and they do the same thing over and over again, just a little bit to get by their 9 to 5. That's a whole different generation. There's no age there. Every generation has perennials who will kind of just hang out in your organization and do the least amount possible. That is a population that's very hard to deal with when it comes to conflict management because they're not pulling their weight. And I think the number one complaint you'll find if you survey your staff, because I'm in HR, so I'm the VP of my HR of my company, and I survey the staff all the time, is other folks not pulling their weight. That's a big problem in the organization when they feel that they're pulling all the weight and the other person is not doing their end of the bargain and getting paid the same. Right? So the perennials, that generation, is very tough to deal with when it comes to conflict management. It's just a couple of things, and I think we're up on time. So during this class, a 4-hour session, I go very deep into kind of the psyche and the emotional aspect of conflict management. And like I said, it's not your IQ, it's your EQ. You all know what you have to do. Just do what you have to do when it comes to conflict management. Execute these styles. Look for the silver lining. Look for those things that can really help in the workplace. Understand generational differences and how to give feedback to folks. Anybody hear of the sandwich technique? Anybody know that one? HR? Positive, negative, positive, right? So strategies. Always look at it like a chess game. Don't just go in very emotionally upset because when you make emotional decisions, that's bound to hurt you. So with that, anybody have any questions on what we discussed so far? I think we're almost up on time. No heckling today? Everyone good? So thank you so much for your time. Again, my name is Dan Foglia, Vice President of HR and Corporate Compliance, also part-time instructor for Rutgers University. So thank you again, and hope you have a great day.